皆様お待たせいたしました。本日は経済産業省及び一般財団法人海外産業人材育成協会 AOTS 主催国際連合工業開発機関ユニド東京投資技術移転促進事務所講演の第8回アフリカ開発会議TICAT8公式サイドイベントアフリカで日本が果たしていく産業人材育成のあり方にご参加いただき誠にありがとうございます。私は本日の司会を務めます AOTS の池永と申します。どうぞよろしくお願い申し上げます。本日の進行でございますが、前半は基調講演と日本企業によるアフリカでの産業人材育成事例のご紹介、後半はパネルディスカッションという構成で進めてまいります。それでは本イベント主催者を代表いたしまして AOTS 理事長の桑山真也より開会のご挨拶をさせていただきます。それでは桑山理事長よろしくお願いいたします。
ただいまご紹介に預かりました一般財団法人海外産業人材育成協会 AOTS 理事長の桑山でございます。TICAT8公式サイドイベントの開会にあたりまして AOTS を代表して一言ご挨拶申し上げます。本日は日本国内およびアフリカを中心とした世界各国から本サイドイベントにご参加いただき誠にありがとうございます。また経済産業省および国際連合工業開発機関ユニド東京投資技術移転促進事務所をはじめとした関係者の皆様には平素より多岐にわたるご支援を賜り心より感謝申し上げます。AOTS は1959年の創立以来主に開発途上国の産業人材を対象とした研修及び専門家派遣等の技術協力を推進する人材育成機関として活動してまいりました。全世界で研修事業の実績累計は約43万人に上ります。アフリカに対しても進出企業、日系企業のアフリカ展開を支援するとともに、現地ローカル企業及び産業団体等からの要請に応えるため、日本またはアフリカでの研修指導を通じて各国の産業人材育成に取り組んでまいりました。その数は総計約1万2000人にも上り、アフリカの経済発展に寄与してまいりました。また、日本で研修を受けたアフリカ人元研修生は、帰国後、日本での研修という共通体験を基盤に、自主的に同窓会を設立、運営しております。世代を超えて母国の発展のため、また日本との経済活動促進、友好増進のために大いに尽力されています。現在、アフリカでは10カ国において同窓会が活動しているほか、地域連合体としてアフリカ同窓会連合、アファースを結成し、さらにアフリカとつながりの深いインドの同窓会とも積極的に連携するなど、地域間協力活動も活発に行っています。本日もアファースの関係者を代表してアディル・アリ会長、エジプト同窓会のバハ会長にも本イベントに参加いただきます。長年にわたり日本とアフリカの架け橋として献身的に活動されてきたことに対し、ここに改めて同窓会関係者の皆様に心より敬意を表するとともに、これまでの AOTS の事業への変わらぬご協力に重ねて御礼を申し上げる次第であります。さて、アフリカでは2050年の人口が現在の約2倍の25億人に達すると予想されています。その結果、アフリカの人口が世界の約 25% を占めることになるなど、その急速な人口増加により、新たな新興国として注目されています。アフリカの GDP 成長率はアジアとも遜色なく、かつての日本のように高度成長時代に突入しています。このため AOTS では成長著しいアフリカの産業化を後押しするため、これまで行ってきた日本やアフリカでの指導・研修に加えて、次のような点にも留意し、アフリカでの産業人材育成の取り組みを抜本的に強化していきたいと考えております。一つ目が第三国型研修の実施です。日本の産業人材育成を理解するアジアを活用することで、日本とアフリカの物理的な距離を埋め、スピーディーに対応していきます。本日はダイキン工業株式会社様より、インドで行っていらっしゃる取り組みをご紹介いただきます。2つ目が寄付口座設置の推進です。日本や企業や団体に加えて、現地の大学と連携し、日本企業と協力をして寄付口座を設置することで、産業人材の卵を育成していきます。本日はこの後、ダイブイントコード社より、 シラレオネで行っていらっしゃる取り組みをご紹介いただきます。さらに、本日のサイドイベントでは、国際開発政策がご専門で、アフリカにも造詣が深い政策研究大学院大学の大野教授に、アフリカで求められる産業人材育成について基調講演をいただきます。合わせて、日本、アフリカ、そして国際機関の方で構成されるパネルディスカッションをリードしていただき、アフリカで日本が果たしていく産業人材育成のあり方について考えます。本日のサイドイベントでの議論が、アフリカの発展、産業化をさらに後押しすることにつながるよう、AOTS の今後の活動にも生かしてまいりたいと思います。最後になりますが、関係者および参加者の皆様のますますのご発展、ご健勝を記念して、開会のご挨拶とさせていただきます。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
桑山理事長、ありがとうございました。続きまして、同じく主催者の代表挨拶といたしまして、経済産業省大臣官房審議官、貿易経済協力局農林水産品輸出担当、時谷光雄様にご挨拶をお願いしたいと思います。それでは時谷様、よろしくお願いいたします。
ご列席の皆様、経済産業省審議官の時谷と申します。経済産業省と EOTS が主催する TICAD8 サイドイベントの開会にあたり、一言ご挨拶申し上げます。まずは、本イベントの開催実現に向けてご尽力いただきました関係者の皆様、また本日ご登壇の皆様に経済産業省を代表して感謝申し上げたいと思います。皆様ご案内のとおり、アフリカは拡大を続ける人口のもと、デジタル技術を活用したイノベーションやグリーン成長を向けた高齢化を拡大するなど、ビジネスチャンスが大きく広がる大変な魅力にあふれた成長市場であり、そのような中での本イベントの開催は、まさに事業を得たものであると考えております。私自身、先月、ケニアに出張し、政府や企業関係者の方々と意見交換を行ってまいりましたが、その中で改めて、アフリカ市場のポテンシャルを、また、アフリカの官民関係者の皆様が、日アフリカのビジネスおよび経済関係の強化へ強い熱意をお持ちであることを大いに実感してまいりました。そして、改めて申し上げるまでもありませんが、日本の企業も新型コロナウイルスなどを背景に、国際的に先行き不透明な事業環境が続いている中で、挑戦を止めることなく、アフリカでのビジネスの可能性を探求しているものと承知しております。このような中、経済産業省としても、援助をする、されるという関係ではなく、協力し、共に発展していくという関係を、日本とアフリカの間でより強固なものとして築いていきたいと考えています。ここでそのための具体的な取り組みを少しだけ紹介させていただくと、例えば J パートナーシップ事業は、アフリカの現地パートナーと共同で社会課題の解決につながる製品やサービスの開発に取り組む日本企業を力強く支援しているものであります。また、未来の産業人材イニシアチブ、すなわち AFIF は、今後3年間で5000人のアフリカの若い方々に実践的なスキルの獲得につながる教育や研修の機会を提供しているものであります。さらに AOTS はこれまでも経済産業省とともにアフリカにおける産業人材育成に取り組んでこられましたが、その取り組みを抜本的に強化すべく、今年からはアフリカプロジェクトチームを設置し、現地関連機関との連携強化などの取り組みを進めています。今週末の TICAD8 では、これらの取り組みを含む日アフリカのさらなるパートナーシップの強化に向けたさまざまな取り組みが、今後、より一層円滑に進むこととなるよう、日アフリカの民間企業、政府、国際機関等との間で、実に数多くの覚書が締結される予定です。このことは、それ自体が日本とアフリカが確かなパートナーシップを着実に構築してきたことの表れであるだけでなく、目の前に広がる今後の可能性の証左として、我々の未来を大いに勇気づけるものではないかと考えております。従いましてご列席の皆様、これからも日本が目指すのは片務的な関係ではなく、日本とアフリカが共に成長するパートナーとしての関係を築いていくことであり、そしてまたそのことによりアフリカの強靭で持続可能な成長を後押しするものであるということを、今日ここに改めて強調させていただきたいと思います。経済産業省はこのような視点に立って TICAD8 後も引き続き日アフリカの経済関係の強化に力強く取り組んでまいります。AOTS にも引き続き同様の視点に立ってアフリカにおける技術協力、人材育成事業をさらに発展させていかれることを期待しています。また、アフリカ各国の政府および企業の皆様には、ぜひ 日本企業の特質や高い技術について理解を深めていただき、そしてそれを長期的なパートナーシップの構築につなげていただきたいと思います。最後になりますが、本イベントが日本とアフリカのさらなるパートナーシップの強化に向けた一助になりますことを改めて記念し、私の挨拶に返させていただきます。ありがとうございました。
木屋様、ありがとうございました。それではこれから基調講演に入ります。アフリカで日本が果たしていく産業人材育成のあり方をメインテーマとしました本イベントの趣旨にご賛同いただきまして、基調講演は国際開発政策や途上国の産業開発協力等がご専門の政策研究大学院大学教授、大野泉様にお願いしております。ご講演テーマは、これまでの日本の産業人材育成の取り組み、今後のアフリカでの産業人材育成への期待です。それでは大野先生、よろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you very much, Ms. Ikenaga. It is my great honor to be here today. So thank you so much for kind introduction. So let me share my slides. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the supporting industrial human resource development in Africa with a perspective of key features of Japanese cooperation and enhanced partnership with Africa. There are 5 points I'd like to discuss today. So let me start. The first, importance of upgrading industrial human resources in Africa. Africa is a continent of future and opportunities. As President Kuwayama and also our Director General, Mr. Tokiwa mentioned, Africa's population is estimated to double by 2050, reaching 2.5 billion, which is about 1/4 of the world total. Particularly Sub-Saharan African country has the world's youngest population, with more than 60% under the age 25. So combined with the expanding consumer market and recent advance of African continental free trade area, a growing labor force presents an economic potential for Africa's comparative advantages relative to other regions. Nevertheless, reaping the benefits of democratic dividend is not automatic. So its success depends critically on the investment on job creation and human resource development, which have to go hand in hand with economic transformation. As this diagram shows, economic transformation and productive job creation have to go together, and particularly human resource development is critical, which is training at school and also training at workplace, including Kaizen. Although also have to be an integral part of industrial policy and also other supportive measures. However, there are often problems in industrial human resource development. Twin gaps of supply and demand skill in the labor market is often pointed out as issues. What does this mean? On the demand side, employer in the company have a certain expectation of the types or level of skill their worker want to have to be competitive and productive. At the same time, on the supply side, including Tibet teachers, they may not have enough knowledge about updated information of what business or market needs, so their skills they teach may not be sufficient. As a result, the workers or students who may not have actual skill sufficiently to be useful for the market. So those are gaps which normally occurs. Then how can we overcome those skill gaps? This diagram shows the diverse opportunities available in types of the education training in places. This diagram shows horizontal vertical shows the time frame. This is before the entering labor market and also after entering labor market. And also horizontal axis shows the degree of specificity of the knowledge and skill. So general skill to the workplace specific knowledge skill. So as you can see, there are lots of possibilities available. But maybe gaps exist between maybe school and workplace. So how can we solve it? Two ways possibility would be possible. One is to enhance Tibet industry linkage and also industry academia collaboration, such as through internship, company study tour, lecture by business expert, job fair, etc., in partnership with the private sectors. The other possibility would be to incentivize the company to keep upgrading their workers' skill to maintain competitiveness, innovative, productive. Maybe government subsidy would be very helpful for employee training. In some, public-private partnership is vital to enhance employability and productivity of the workforce. Let me go to maybe key features of Japanese cooperation. Industrial human resource development, which we may call hitozukuri. Hito means that the people. Tsukuru is a make or development. That has been a top priority of Japanese cooperation for many decades. As you know, the global development trend changed a lot. Currently, under the SDG, everybody talks about how important innovation is, industry is, skill development is. But before, maybe MDG era, more focused on primary education and poverty reduction. And there was a time of macroeconomic adjustment, basic human needs, and then there was a long time ago, industrialization was focused. But Japan has been consistently engaging for human resource development in industrial human resource development for a long time, regardless of those maybe global trend change, with an emphasis of practice and field orientation and problem-solving skills to respond to real needs of industries. For example, experts work on maybe securing workplace safeties, not just focused on telling what kind of rule or manual should be utilized. They go together to how to operate the machinery safely to take care of yourself. So hands-on guidance is very important. Also, human resource development with monozukuri spirit is very important. Monozukuri means that the mono is the product or things, and tsukuru is a maker product, produce. And this monozukuri spirit include both technical skill, hard skill, but also soft skill with the philosophies. You really love making things for the better, serving of the people, and then with pride, and then you are responsible for what you are going to produce to provide services and skill and dedication. So this is how many Japanese maybe leading companies, when they are very small companies, started to work, like Toyota, Matsushita, Panasonic, and Honda, and Sony, Morita-san, etc. Therefore, conventional approach to the Japanese technology transfer look like this. Specific skill is important, but have to be funded by monozukuri spirit. So both have to be taught through technology transfer. Of course, this has to be adapted to the country-specific context. And then maybe typical AOTS training program could include, for that reason, starting with general introduction of Japanese culture, philosophy, kaizen, those work ethics, discipline, and then combined with practical training on the factories. So we hope those training will be maybe shared widely in the workplace and company level, industry-wide, and also maybe globally. So those are our desire. Features of Japanese cooperation, that is public-private partnership. For that reason, Japanese ODA for industrial human resource development has been taking two-pronged approach, complementary each other. One is very famous for JICA, that is Japan International Cooperation Agency, to provide G2G cooperation, supporting capacity development of the public sector mainly. For example, public Tibet institution, engineering universities, quality productivity institute, to help their instructor or help their system for curriculum development to work for serve the wider population. And then AOTS is complementary, working directly with the private sector based on demand from the public-private sector, and then combining ODA resources with companies at the funding. And Japanese Meti talked a lot about Japan ODA model, which is about synergy among aid, investment, and trade. Actually, Professor Shimomura, which is an expert of Japanese ODA, talked about also the trinity of development cooperation among three. Also, some experts talk about Japanese ODA has a close maybe correlation with FDI. So far, we have been more focused in Asia, but as we really just heard, there are recent initiatives of enhanced cooperation for Africa. I'm not going to give in detail, but Mr. Kuwayama mentioned there are various training available by AOTS, and also training, expert, and also industry academia collaboration program based on that philosophy. This diagram shows how the number of AOTS training programs have been correlated to the Japanese FDI to Asia. This blue line is a Japanese FDI to Asian country. It increased dramatically, particularly from 1985, at the time of the Plaza Accord, when Japanese yen started to appreciate dramatically. And then this has been also AOTS training, red and green, has correspondingly supported in this move for human resource development of the Japanese companies, which is a need. Sorry, that because of the maybe data consistency, we have only data until 2004, but this trend has continued. And also AOTS by now have a much more diversified that training program or expert dispatch program. So this may not be captured here. This is the number of training participants. They used to have a Asia focus in the case of AOTS, 90%. But today, Mr. Tokiwa and also Mr. Kuwayama mentioned they're going to dramatically increase support to Africa. So I hope that is true. And actually, I have heard their plan is to increase the support to 2,000 people in a year in the industrial area for Africa by AOTS. In the next few slides, let me discuss a little bit about some specific example of Japanese industrial human resource cooperation. First one is about 5S and Kaizen. It's a very basic, also part of Monozukuri spirit. Kaizen is a bottom-up and low-cost way of improving efficiency at the workplace. So you don't need any investment. It's a participatory manner. Japan learned it from US through statistical methodology, but it adapted to the Japanese way for the much more inclusive way and also teamwork like QC Circle. And Kaizen is also philosophy with many practical tools, like a TPS or Kanban or etc. But basically it pursues eliminating muda or waste, like a muda of time or movement or space. So most basic one is 5S, Seiri, Seiton, Seiso, Seiso, Suke, or so setting order, shine, standard, etc. So Kaizen has been widely spread in Japan, including SME. And then when Japanese companies started to have a foreign direct investment in Asia and also the rest of the world, it accompanied the spread a lot through, for example, company to company, because Japanese companies expect the local partner to also practice these Kaizen methodologies. And also AOTS, JODC, JICA, Asian Productivity Organization like ODA, and also private organizations like Japan Productivity Center, JUSE, JEMA, Kaizen Institute. Many institutions supported these activities. Second example is a Tibet industry linkage, which I talk about how important it is to fill the gap between demand and supply in labor market. For that reason, Tibet institutions have to be very efficient in training process management and also have to have an employment support system in partnership with the private sector, like internship, study tour, lecture by private sector, job fair, etc. And this is an example how JICA, through their public Tibet institution in Hanoi University of Industry in Vietnam, introduced this employment support system in an integral way. There are also examples on the private Monozukuri University in Thailand, that is Tainichi Institute of Technology, TNI. It is a Monozukuri University taught by Thai people for the Thai people. Very interestingly, this TNI was funded by Technology Promotion Association, TPA, which is a Thai NPO set up in about 50 years ago by Thai alumni who studied at Japanese Engineering University and also ex-trainees of AOTS. So they are quite familiar of Japanese maybe Monozukuri spirit. And then after coming back to Thailand, they started to maybe create this university eventually, and they did it in 2007. So their curriculum really reflect this public-private partnership. For example, the 6 core values, Monozukuri, Kaizen, reflection, honesty, respect, public interest, consciousness, and also 5G. Like you have to be very, very committed to workplace. You have to understand that what's going on in the real things and real material, etc., not just the theory and the rule. So these are being taught by Thai experts for Thai people, and also they are gradually expanding their activity in Asia. Another example is a KOSEN Technical College, which is a Japanese technical and vocational higher education system, which is about 5 years. And then they emphasize practical skill together with theory, and they're very popular for the labor market. But Japan is now supporting this introduction to Thailand, Vietnam, Mongolia, etc. My last example is at the automotive industry supply chain in Mexico, because I thought also I should introduce a non-Asian example. Japan and Mexico has an economic partnership agreement in 2005. This triggered a lot of Japanese investment in automotive sector in Mexico. Here, AOTS and JICA has a complementary support. JICA is providing the Tibet school for core teachers training, and also curriculum development supported by Japanese private sector expert of automobile. And then AOTS directly work with local suppliers, which are kind of supplying the parts and component to the Japanese manufacturers, and then expert dispatch, technical training in Japan or Mexico in a very special way. So this is how maybe that collaboration works together. Few words about recent initiative for Africa. Already mentioned, Japan started to maybe over the past decade enhance collaboration for African human resource development, starting with Abe Initiative in 2013 at the Ticket 5 by inviting young people to Japan, which is supported by JICA, by scholarship for the Japanese universities, and then AOTS for more practical engineer training. But those are combined with internship with Japanese companies. Currently, Abe Initiative version 3 is underway to accept 3,000 African youth in Japan in the coming 6 years. JICA has been working for Africa Kaizen Initiative and also African Kaizen Award for many years, and they started the Africa Kaizen Initiative, African-wide promotion in 2017 together with AUDA NEPAT, and also recently joined by Pan-African Productivity Association. And then as an individual project, they are supporting Kaizen project in 9 African countries, starting with Tunisia in 2006. And then we just heard by Mr. Tokiwa that the AFIF, so Africa-Japan Industrial Human Resource Development Initiative for the future, including 5,000 African youth for training for over 3 years on the practical skill, and also enhancing existing AOTS program by inviting more third country experts in third countries, and also promoting industry-academia collaboration, strengthening partnership with various institutions, which will be explained later in my subsequent presentation. Just a few words, maybe I just wanted to explain this. In addition to this, there are recent initiatives to work directly with the industry association. AOTS has a typically company-to-company support because it's a demand-driven. But for Africa, it is important to reach out more wider, maybe the partners, companies. So recently, they have started to expand that collaboration with industrial association in Kenya is one of the example. And they will be providing that training for automation DX with Kaizen, the element. Actually, this is based on what AOTS has been doing in Thailand. Okay. Just wanted to say that digitalization Kaizen could be complementary because without eliminating muda or waste, it is not effective to introduce robots or automation, which may be very costly, heavy investment. And also data-driven visualization and networking, teamwork, those would be very much in harmony with digitalization Kaizen philosophies. Last example is a South-South cooperation. As President Kuwayama said, AOT has a very much intensive global network all over the world, which have a common understanding of the monozukuri spirit with the common experiences of maybe the culture, and then they are everywhere. And particularly, I think Malaysia and India have a close association with African AOTS alumni societies, and they are, for example, are training Egyptian people, or Egyptian alumni societies quite active by inviting Indian experts there. So I hope this kind of collaboration would also further expand in the future. So lastly, let me wrap up. So industrial human resource development is a key for building African future. And Asian experiences show the importance of public-private partnership for industrial human resource development, but acquisition of both hard and soft skill, monozukuri, spirit, and then practice and field-oriented hands-on approach. And there exists a thick layer of experts who have mastered those approaches through long-standing cooperation with Japan. So I think it is time for Japan to further strengthen these engagement in African human resource development together with various partners. At the same time, we have to learn a lot. We have to adapt its method to African ways. So I look forward to listening to today's presentation and also suggestions for the further. At the same time, in this digitalization age, the scope of industrialization is broadening so that more opportunities, service-oriented, social business, etc. So there are much more possibilities. And then I hope Kaizen is a very much indispensable element in this era also. So I hope this would be a very important element for us to keep working with new innovation. Just I wanted to say that this is JETRO survey, which say that the Japanese companies, they said, are very much willing to contribute to productive job creation in Africa, among various questions they have asked. So employment creation comes first, human resource development, hiring human resource from Africa, which is much higher than trade and investment expansion. So I hope, together with this initiative, we will have a more opportunity in working together. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
大野先生、ありがとうございました。それでは次のセッションに移ります。AOTS は1959年の設立以来、開発途上国の産業人材の育成のためにさまざまな事業を行ってまいりましたが、本日は国庫補助事業をご利用いただいております企業様2社に、アフリカでの人材育成のご経験を共有いただきたくご登壇をお願いしております。まずは中東アフリカ地域支配人兼ダイキン中東アフリカ社取締役会長宮武正明様より、アフリカ人材のインドにおける第三国研修実施というタイトルにてご講演いただきます。それでは宮武様、よろしくお願いいたします。
ただいまご紹介いただきました、私、ダイキン中東アフリカ社の宮武と申します。現在、多くの日系企業がアフリカで現地に根ざした事業を展開されている中、当社のアフリカでの事業はまだ緒についたばかりです。こうした中で誠に僭越ではございますが、せっかくのお声掛けでもありますので、当社のアフリカでの人材育成の取り組みについてご紹介をさせていただきます。本日は当社の事業概要を続いて、アフリカでの人材育成の課題と AOTS 様との取り組み、最後にアフリカでの今後の事業展開についてご説明をさせていただきます。まず最初に、当社について簡単にこのページでご紹介をさせていただきます。ご存知の方もいらっしゃるかと思いますが、当社は空調メインに事業を展開しておりまして、売上の9割を占めております。機器も家庭用から業務用、産業用まで幅広い製品を製造・販売しております。また、空調機で使用されるフロンガスの生産や、半導体の製造プロセスに必要とされるフッ素を用いた化学事業も展開しております。こちらは21世紀に入ってからの業績の推移になります。過去20年間、リーマンショックやコロナ禍などの逆風を乗り越え、昨年度は過去最大となる売上を達成させていただきました。その間に大小の企業買収を行うことで、特に海外で大きく事業を展開してまいりました。 私どもの基本戦略の一つは、地域最寄り化、言い換えますと、地産地消でございまして、現在、世界100カ所以上の生産拠点を持ち、160カ国以上で事業を展開をしております。世界の各地域では、気候も異なれば、住宅様式、顧客の志向も千差万別です。例えば、中国では空調機は富の象徴として家庭の目立つ位置に配置されるため、弊社は中国人の方の志向に合わせて、ご覧のような真っ赤なエアコンも販売しております。また、ヨーロッパでは南部を除いて依然エアコンを持たない家庭も多く、冷房よりもむしろ暖房が必要な市場です。そこで当社は空調機で培ったヒートポンプと呼ばれる技術を活用した給湯暖房機をヨーロッパで初めて開発いたしました。近年の脱炭素化の流れで市場は急激に燃焼暖房からヒートポンプ暖房へ移行しておりますが、地域モリ化での製品開発とものづくりの考え方に基づき、いち早く現地のニーズに応える製品開発を続けております。中東アフリカ地域も例外ではございません。最寄り化を進める中で、2008年、UAE に地域統括拠点として、大金中東アフリカ社を設立いたしました。拠点内では、ドバイ、アブダビ、サウジアラビア、カタール、エジプトに子会社を設置し、その他の国では代理店を通じて事業を展開しております。アフリカには昨年、モロッコとナイジェリアに駐在員事務所を開設いたしました。続いて、アフリカでの人材育成の課題と AOTS 様との取り組みについてご紹介をさせていただきます。アフリカでの人材育成の大きな障壁となっているのが、適切な教育を受けるインフラや機会が不足しているということです。とりわけ富裕層は適切な教育を求めて欧米に留学される方も多いようですが、アフリカに残って働いておられる方には適切な教育を受けることができず、誤った知識を持たれている方も残念ながらおられます。こちらは不適切な空調の設計、使用例です。左は慢性的な水漏れに悩まされているレストランです。不適切に設計されたビルではメンテナンスを十分にできないため、壊れたまた安価な商品を追加で設置するなど、結果としてオーナー様に不必要な追加投資を強いることになります。また右側の写真は、オフィスビルに多数の家庭用のエアコンを設置されている事例です。このようなビルには本来ならば業務用空調機を採用し、一つの室外機で多数の室内機を接続することで、すっきりとした外観にすることや、中央制御によってエアコンの無駄遣いを防いだりすることができますが、アフリカではこのような設置になってしまっている事例が多く見られます。空調はビル全体の電力消費の約半分を占めておりますので、適切な設計技術を持った方による設計と、高い技術を持った方による施工、修理、メンテナンスが CO2 を削減する上で非常に重要になっているということがお分かりいただけると思います。当社は中東アフリカ事業の拠点をドバイに構えておりますが、すでに10年以上の歴史があり、ドバイの現地人スタッフは日本と同等な技術が根付いているため、アフリカの方に指導できるレベルまで熟練されております。また、アフリカで販売する機器の多くをインドで製造しており、こちらも日本のものづくりが十分浸透しております。そこで当社は AOTS 様が実施されている第三国型海外研修に応募し、アフリカの空調業界のキーマンを弊社のインドの拠点に招いて、ドバイから講師を送り込み、研修会を実施いたしました。日本から直接講師をアフリカに送って研修を実施するのは、移動距離や言語の壁から困難ですが、すでに日本の技術が移管された2拠点を活用し、AOTS 様の研修制度を活用することで、アフリカで空調機に携わるエンジニアの方々へ研修会を実施することができました。研修ではまず製造ラインや試験設備の見学会を実施しました。アフリカで販売されている空調機器の製造工程、厳しい試験をパスして梱包されるまでのプロセスを実際に見ていただきました。日本のしっかりとしたものづくりの姿勢や考え方がアフリカ向け製品を製造している インドに工場においてもきっちりと継承されていることをご理解いただきました。また、翌日にはセミナーを実施いたしました。環境に配慮した製品や技術、用途に応じた空調機の選定などを学んでいただきました。ご参加いただいた方には、普段メーカーからこのようなセミナーを受けることも限られており、研修中にはたくさんの質問をいただくとともに、このような研修会を定期的に実施してほしいというお声も多数ございました。最後に、特に人材育成という観点から当社のアフリカでの今後の事業展開を紹介させていただきます。まず先ほどもご紹介したモエリ化を一層強めていきたいと考えております。左の地図の黄色で塗りつぶされた箇所は2020年度で弊社が代理店を通じて事業を展開している国です。2025年までには販売会社や認定代理店の数を大幅に増やして39カ国で事業を展開していきたいと考えております。こうしたモエリ化の取り組みを通じ、それぞれの国で人材育成にも貢献していきたいと考えております。アフリカでは日本や欧米と異なり、まだ性能の低い製品が市場の大半を占めており、ユーザー様は高い電気代に悩まされております。同時にこのような商品は地球温暖化にも悪い影響を及ぼしているのは言うまでもございません。当社は消費電力を 58% 削減できるインバーター技術を搭載した空調機をアフリカで積極的に推進してまいります。また、地球温暖化係数が高く、オゾン層に危害を加えない R32 という冷媒ガスを2012年に開発いたしましたが、このガスを使用した空調機をアフリカで推進してまいります。アフリカの市場では温暖化係数が非常に高い R22 という冷媒を使った商品がまだ大半を占めており、当社は R22 と比較して温暖化係数を3分の1まで抑えた R32 を搭載した空調機を世界で初めて開発しました。環境の負荷の低い製品技術をアフリカで推進することで、アフリカの持続可能な成長に貢献したいと考えております。しかし当社だけではアフリカの市場を変えることはできません。そこで当社は空調に関わる産官学の有識者と将来の空調の在り方について意見交換する場として、空調講話会と呼ぶ意見交換会を世界各地で展開しております。これまではヨーロッパや中国、アメリカ、中南米で講話会を実施しており、環境負荷の高い製品を規制する制度の導入をリードしてきました。そして今年は初めて中東アフリカ講話会をドバイで開催いたします。これで中東アフリカでは規制導入がこれまで遅れていましたが、当地でダイキンがこれをリードすることによって、高性能で高品質な製品の普及に努めてまいりたいと考えております。最後に職業訓練学校との提携についてご紹介いたします。先ほども述べましたように、アフリカでは教育の機会、インフラが不足しております。空調業界でも同様で、エアコンの工事サービスをする方も、日本や多くの先進国のように適切な教育を受け、資格を取得して仕事をしているわけではございません。結果として市場には不適切に設置されたエアコンであふれ、修理、メンテナンスできる人材も少ないため、新たに廉価な粗悪品をつけるといったような悪循環が生まれております。当社は職業訓練校との提携を通じて、こうした問題に向き合ってまいります。この提携の中で、職業訓練学校には、教室の提供と空調カリキュラムの開設をお願いしております。その代わりに当社から実践研修で使用する空調機器そのものと、学校の講師の方に対しての指導を無償で提供しております。職業訓練校との提携により、生徒の方々は我々が保障した高度な教育を受けることができ、生徒の方が転職をつけることで、アフリカでの雇用創出にもつながるのではないかと考えております。また、皆さんは当社からのサポートにより、ダイキンファン、ダイキンのブランドアンバサダーとなっていただき、卒業後に私どもの品質、価値を正しく市場に広めていただくことで、我々にとっても大きな力になると期待しております。正しい知識、技術を持った工事業者さんが増えることで、 市場レベルの底上げにもつながります。この提携は短期的には効果が見えるものではありませんが、事業を拡大するために、まずは人への投資が最重要であると考えております。最後に AOTS 様の研修制度やこうした取り組みを通じて、アフリカの人材育成に貢献しつつ、我々も事業を拡大してまいります。本日はご清聴ありがとうございました。
宮武様、ありがとうございました。続きまして、株式会社ダイブイントゥコード代表取締役、野呂博義様より、シエラレオネにおける大学寄付講座というタイトルにてご講演いただきます。それでは野呂様、よろしくお願いいたします。
はい、よろしくお願いします。では皆様、はじめまして、ダイブイントゥコードの野呂と申します。このような機会いただきましたこと、大変嬉しく思っています。TCAT こそですね、アフリカと日本のつながりを作るとても重要な機会だと考えておりますので、そういった場で機会をいただけることに光栄に感じています。私からはですね、今回 AOTS さんの寄付講座をシエラレオネという国で実施させていただいている事例をもとにですね、アフリカと日本、そして弊社のようなですね、小さな会社でもそういった世界をですね、国を越えて一緒に働くことができるんだということをですね、事例としてご紹介できたらと思っております。まず簡単に自己紹介させていただきます。私ですね、1980年10月の6日に生まれましてですね、偶然にもこの日が国際協力の日として外務省が定めた日なんですね。ということは、私自身運営めいたものを少し感じておりまして、創業者として2015年に創業してからですね、アフリカ2017年、一人で単身ルワンダに渡った時からですね、実は縁がつながっております。で今はですね、実際に何をやっているのかといいますと、この写真の通りですね、いろんなアフリカの国々と一緒になって IT 教育をですね、現地に届けたり、あるいは彼らの力を借りてですね、日本の受講生のサポートをするということを彼らがやっていたりします。こういったことをですね、することによって日本の中にいながらしてもですね、外の国とつながって一緒に働くことができて、かつですね、アフリカに対して私たち日本が知識をですね、提供するだけじゃなくて、彼らが日本の若者を教えるっていうですね、これを実現していくということができるようになということを、授業を通して体験をしてきています。今日はそんな話を少しできたらと思っています。まず最初にダイブイントゥコードって何だろうという会社の紹介なんですけれども、今までプログラミングスクールと日本ではよく言われます。そのスクールとして日本人の受講生さんが日本人の社員、そしてあるいは IT の実務家からですね、学ぶというそういうスクールを運営してきました。で就職先というのは日本のですね、日本人の方ですから日本のベンチャー企業ですとか大企業ですとか中小企業さんですとかですね、新しいものをソフトウェアの力で生み出していくんだというそういう会社にですね就職をしていくっていう方が多いんですね。これがまず基本形で、2015年に私が一人で創業してから、少しずつ、組織がですね大きくなってきまして、今総勢およそアフリカのメンバー入れると30人弱ぐらいで運営をしている会社になります。でこのですね事業をどのような形でアフリカと関わっているのかということについてお話しします。アフリカとの関わりはですね、先ほど少し口頭でお話ししました2017年、私が一人で、その年の8月にですねルワンダに行ったと、そこでセミナーを開催したというところから始まっているんですが、今現状ですね、組織上はセネガル人のですねアベイニシアティブの先ほど別のご講演で大野先生おっしゃってましたが、3000人ほどいらっしゃる来ていただいている方のですねうちの一人がですね、弊社のアフリカ部門のですねリーダーを務めております。そのメンバーをはじめとしてですね、ルワンダでご縁があった卒業生たちの力も借りてですね、実際に組織を運営していて、彼らがですねどんなことをやっているのかというと、日本のですね先ほどお話ししたプログラミングスクールの受講生の質問に回答したりとかですね、テキストを作ったりとかですね、そういったことをですね日々毎日やってます。こういった関わりがあります。そしてルワンダだけでなく、最近ですとベナンですとかシエラレオネのメンバーも増えてですね、全員リモートワークです。在宅勤務でアフリカで働いております。で何をやろうとしているのかということを申し上げますと、この図の通りですね、日本で学ぶ人たちいますよね。 IT を学ぶ、今後 DX 等でですね学びたい人はどんどん増えていくと思います。ただ一方で人口が減っていくということが確定していて、若者の数もどんどん減っていくだろうということが確定しています。で一方でアフリカですとですね、人口は増えていきますし、さらに IT の仕事に就きたいという方たちもですね非常に多いわけですね。でそういった方たちの力も借りながらですね、実は日本で不足してくる IT を教える人、教わりたい人だけだとですねどんどん不足していきますので、そういった意味で、国問わず この IT というのは全世界共通の力になりますので、これをうまく組み合わせられないかと、こういう発想からですね、最初始まっています。ですので、今からお話しする内容は、日本人の方がアフリカの人からどういうふうに学んでいるのか、それをどうやって実現しているのか、今回寄付講座はどういう役割なのかという話についてお話を差し上げます。まずどんなふうにですね、アフリカのメンバーが関わっているのかについて、少し図解のようにしたものがこちらの図になります。私たちですね、日本の受講生が、これをですね、アフリカのスタッフが教えられるようにするためにですね、教科書を全部翻訳しましてですね、この翻訳した言語、英語、フランス語をはじめとした他の言語に翻訳して、それを学び卒業し、それを習得した方がですね、機械翻訳等を通じてまた日本人に教えるということをですね、実現しています。で、これをどんなふうなプロセスで、どんなふうに寄付講座が関係しているのかについてお話をします。で、まずですね、アフリカ、広いですね、非常に広い国ですよね。一つの国では言い表せません。いくつもの言葉があり、そして公用語だけじゃなく現地の言葉もありという状況です。ただ、そういった国の中でもですね、やはり IT を学んでいきたい方たちっていうのは一定数いらっしゃいます。大学ももちろんあります。若者もたくさんいらっしゃいます。そんな中でですね、私たちの教材を、私が初めて渡航した時からですね、最初は手弁当で、まずは、翻訳を Google 翻訳等でしてから始まってますが、今はツールを使いましてですね、その日本人の方と全く同じ内容をですね、他の言語に変えてます。例えば英語とかフランス語とかですね。で、それをですね、実際に今回この AOTS さんの寄付講座によって学んだ大学の卒業生たちがですね、スタッフとして私たちの仲間になって、そしてその先にですね、また新しく来た日本人の方、そしてアフリカの若者たちにまた教えるというですね、こういう循環を作るということでですね、活用させていただいています。その他にも JICA のプロジェクトですとか、あとは自前でですね、クラウドファンディング等をして、実際にスクールを運営するということをしております。そして、一つご紹介としてですね、できたらなと思っておりますのが、今回シエラレオネの話です。シエラレオネ、世界最貧国と言われてしまうような経済状況であるということもあった国でありますけれども、ここにですね、まさに日本で必要としている機械学習、AI ですね、AI の機械学習エンジニアコースというものがあります。これをですね、実際に提供するということを寄付講座を通して行いました。この画像は実際にこの開講する際にですね、少しイベント的にオリエンテーションのような形で開催をする時の記念の写真なんですけれども、現地の若者たちが未来のためにですね、私たちの講座を学びたいんだということで56名の方が学んでいただきました。その時のですね、少し風景ですとか、なぜこういう講座を開催するのかについて、当時のメディアにも載りましたので、少しだけ動画を流させていただいて、どういう雰囲気なのか、どういうイメージなのかですね、捉えていただいて、ご紹介とさせていただければと思います。
The machine learning project is to ensure students of the University of Management and Technology, UNIMTech, are being trained in data science, speech recognition, and robotics. The university is implementing the scheme targeting 60 students for a start. Sierra Leone is the 5th country in Africa experimenting the scheme. Professor Patrick Taylor, project lead, speaks more on the reason for such project.
This program is about training local staff. We're targeting our students and graduating students and our staff. Because as I said, this a program, and we don't have specialists locally here. And because of this opportunity we're having now, I want to train a whole lot of people, 60 people.
We feel highly honored by this choice, sir. Extremely honored by this choice. And do sincerely appreciate the support of Mr. Kudikazo Akao, who thought it fit to recommend unity for this.
はい、少しご覧いただきましたけれども、まだまだお見せしたいものはあるんですけれども、このような形でですね、現地で実際に開催をするということに関して、非常に注目度を持ってですね、参加していただいておりました。で、こういった取り組み通してですね、どのような形でビジネスとして実施しているのかということを少しご参考までにご紹介できればと思います。この図はですね、実際の弊社の実際の運営しているプログラミングスクールを支えている学習システム等を生かしてですね、ダイバーというものがあります。その中でですね、現地の方たちがどういうふうに学んで、そして卒業した後にどう関わっているのかについて表したものです。まずユニムテックのですね、こちらシエラレオネの大学の学生は、私たちの学習システムを通じてオンラインで全て学ぶことができます。 今コロナ後もですね、全てオンライン対応してますので、そこをオンライン学習システム上で質問回答等、そしてテキストを見たりとかですね、全てできるようになっています。で、その質問の回答をするということもですね、オンラインにながらして実際に人手によるですね、サポートを受けられるようになっています。それのサポートをしているのが、実はそのアフリカの他の国なんですね。セネガル、そしてルワンダ、メンバーたちがシエラレオネの若者たちのためにですね、まさに教えるということをしていたり、あるいはその講義をですね、直接するということも可能です。最初の頃は私が直接するということもありましたけれども、そこをですね、任せられるようにですね、育成をしていきまして、そしてその循環の輪をですね、さらに他の国につなげていくと。そして日本の若者たちも学ぶということがですね、先生がいなくて質問が返ってこないではなく、この時差を生かしてですね、いつでも質問が返ってくるという状態を実現するという意味でも非常にウィンウィンな関係が作れるというふうに考えています。そしてこういった取り組みを通じてですね、教育だけではなく、ただ学んで卒業した人たちが増えるだけでもですね、意味がありません。ですので、その仕事としてちゃんと IT の開発をして、そして現地に産業を作っていくと。スタートアップを作っていったり、あるいは日本からの開発 DX の推進をする際のですね、良きパートナーになっていくということが必要だと考えています。こういった取り組みを通して、日本とアフリカのつながり、そして新しいですね、日本とのアフリカのつながりを作りつつ、デジタル化を推進するという日本の課題をですね、解決していきたいと、そのふうに考えております。以上が弊社が取り組んでいる事例です。少しでもご参考になればと思います。ご清聴いただいてありがとうございました。
野呂様、ありがとうございました。それでは後半はパネルディスカッションを行ってまいります。テーマ、未来人材のためにアフリカで日本が果たしていく産業人材育成とはです。さまざまなお立場の日本及びアフリカのご関係の皆様からご自身のご経験を交えつつお話しいただきます。モデレーターは先ほど基調講演をいただきました大野先生にお願いしております。パネリストは各分野にてご活躍の皆様にご登壇いただきます。それでは今からモデレーターの大野先生にバトンタッチいたします。大野先生、よろしくお願いいたします。
はい、Thank you. ありがとうございます。Thank you very much, Ms. Ikenaga, for the kind introduction. So it is my great pleasure and honor to moderate this exciting panel discussion. So in the previous presentation, very much inspiring concrete example was shared from Daikin and also Diving Code, which are two different types of companies. One is a large Japanese monozukuri company, which excels manufacturing at the same time, places high importance on localized customers' services. The other is a venture company focusing on IT, programming, software training. So we have learned a lot of diverse model of the human resource development and also business. So let's discuss based on understanding what kind of potential the needs of African human development would be. So this session aims to go deeper in understanding the following two aspects. First question is, what types of characteristics of human resources are desired for industrial development in Africa from both Japanese and African perspective? The second question is, what kind of strategies and measures and actions are needed to accelerate industrial human resource development for Africa, particularly to nurture such desired people? How can Japan contribute? So we have invited 6 panelists from various parts of the world with diverse professional background. So I hope I can do the 2 rounds of questions in these 2 sets of questions. But let me introduce the panelists. Okay, thank you so much for turning on your video. So Mr. Masaaki Miyatake, he just explained he's from Daikin, Regional Manager of Middle East and Africa. He was the first presenter, and also he's based in Dubai. And also he's a Regional Manager of Middle East and African Chairman and President of Daikin Middle East and African Fest. And then Mr. Hiroyoshi Noro, we just had a very exciting presentation, a Representative Director of Diving to Code. And then we have 4 more wonderful panelists joining. Mr. Daichi Watanuki. Okay. He is the CEO of Agri-Mission, joining from Benin. Okay. He has been engaged in social business, especially promoting market-oriented agricultural development And previously, also he was a JICA overseas volunteer in Benin, and he had also working experience in Japanese private sector. And then Professor Dr. Baha Zagouro-san, sensei from Egypt. Sorry. He's a president of AOTS, Alumni Society of Egypt. Professor Baha graduated from Japanese University, Tokyo Institute of Technology, and also AOTS training experiences. He was former chairman of Central Metallurgical Research and Development Institute of Egypt, and he has a very much rich academic and research experiences. And then Mr. Damas Euclide Nushi Misakeu-san, I hope you can turn on your video, but if not, we will wait. Okay? He's from Cameroon. He's a research officer at the Ministry of Economy, Planning and Regional Development of the Republic of Cameroon. He is a former Abe Initiative program graduate. Okay. And then Dr. Yuko Yasunaga. Yasunaga-san, I hope you can join. Yeah. He is the managing director. Yes, great. Yeah, managing director of UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization headquarters from Vienna, Austria. He was former head of UNIDO Tokyo office, and prior to that, he has extensive experiences of industrial policy making at the Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. So we had such a wonderful panelists, 6 of them. So let's start with the first round of discussion. So what types and features of human resources are desired for industrial human resource development in Africa based on your own experiences? Can we start with Japanese panelists? And then Mr. Watanuki, could you share your experience, because Agri-Mission is trying to link farmers with the market. So you have your own experiences. Could you share your idea, what kind of human resources do you expect?
Okay, thank you very much for your introduction. I'm currently running an agribusiness company in Benin, West Africa. I'm speaking from Benin. Yeah, I was originally posted to Benin in 2017 as a JICA volunteer. I was working in the rural branch of the Ministry of Agriculture, where I was assigned to implement an income improvement project with vegetable farmers. After working as a volunteer, I wanted to make a more sustainable contribution. So I returned to Benin in 2021 to set up my own company. Our company has a partnership agreement with farmers in Benin, where we teach them how to grow organic vegetables, and we purchase their products and deliver them to customers, residents, and offices in urban areas. Therefore, I would like to talk today from the perspective of human resource development for farmers. The UN and other aid agencies have been helping them to increase their agricultural productivity for a long time. However, in order to increase farmers' income and profits, I believe that from now on, we should pay more attention to how they sell their agricultural products. What is needed is an understanding of the current financial situation. Okay. Here in Benin, I suspect that most farmers have never properly calculated their financial situation, calculate expenses. This often gives them tips on how to improve their income. For example, you can find out which items you have had little or no profit in the past. Or you can find out which items in your expenses you were overspending on.
and maybe you can finish. Yeah, you don't need to video on if the connection is bad. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Can I continue?
Yeah. So there may be 1 minute. If you can wrap up, that would be great. Yeah.
Okay. So sorry about that. So market needs surveys also help to identify which products are needed in which season in the market, or how price fluctuations are changing. Understanding market needs and also visualizing seasonal prices. By doing this, you can get goals fast and work backwards from there. They can have a clear understanding of their current financial situation, recognize the needs of the market, and then they can set themselves a strategy to maximize their profits. I believe that this kind of changing farmers' mindset is very important, and that such independent farmers will be needed in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Watanuki-san. So he is sharing us the importance of mindset change, not just for the produce, for the business oriented. Okay. So let's go to Mr. Miyatake. Could you share with us that maybe your experiences? You already talked about that the Daikin is supporting that the Tibet school, but if you can be more concrete, that would be appreciated. Yeah.
そうしましたら、製造業の立場で、工業化の観点から申し上げますと、日本の製造業のアフリカ進出というのは、まだそんなに多くないというふうに認識しております。私ども、ダイキンもアフリカでの製造をですね、まだ始めておりません。当社は世界100カ国でものづくりをしております。先ほど説明しました地産地消の考え方に基づいて、もちろんそのために乗り越えるべき課題はたくさんありますけれども、近い将来アフリカでものづくりをしたいというふうに考えております。日本の製造業にとって、これは当社だけではないですが、日本の高い基準の品質、これを維持するためにですね、日本、それ以外の地域と同じ技術を持った人材の育成、これが必要であります。そして、これは当社サイドの話なんですが、空調業界でいきますと、健全な空調市場を作っていくと同時にですね、CO2 の削減を推進していくという2つの大きなテーマで進めなければなりません。そのためには、高い設備設計を持った技術を持った技術者、それから施工する技術者、そして売られた商品を適切にサービス、メンテナンスできる人材、これを同時に育てていく。これは本当に急務でありまして、我々が今取り組んでいることの最大のポイントかというふうに思っております。以上です。
Thank you very much for clear explanation. I understand that Daikin is expanding your business from mother factory from India to the various parts of the Africa, and then that the people who really have a knowledge, practical and also localized knowledge of how to fix it, the problem is very important in customer services, and also information or knowledge of maybe global environmental issues and consciousness is very important. So I really thank you so much for sharing the importance. So may I go to Mr. Noro? I think you had a very wonderful presentation as a venture company. It seems to me that we have to change our mindset also, because you talked about the importance of really learning from Africa, and you are trying to reach globally from Africa to various places. So could you share with us your perspective of kinds of human resource needed?
Yeah, thank you very much. My perspective depends on the IT industry, especially the startups and software development. I have 2 points of opinion. First one is as software developers. The second one is entrepreneurship and prototyping. The first one is about the software development. As you know, software development is needed a gifted talent. Statistically, there is always a certain number of people that are gifted about the logical thinking and how can I say, problem-solving skill is a certain number of, it's sure to existence. So the Africa has a lot of youth population, and as you know, by other side, a Japanese company, the software development company, it's faced on the, how can I say, the fiercely competitive. Fiercely competitive, its meaning is to the Asia country developing, and China and Korea and Vietnam, and next step is India or Myanmar is maybe a little bit competitive, so competitive fiercely. So that meaning is to next step to collaborate with. We should thinking, working with the African youth. So it's needed by the Japanese company side. So a lot of potential exists in Africa. As I said before my presentation, my company, it's not how can I say, it's the same potential they have. The Japanese youth and the African youth, it's not different. So I just, it's my experience. So I want to say the first point is about other software developers. It's a gifted talent people. Sure, certain number of exist. And second is about entrepreneurship and prototyping. It's needed, the IT. So it's not only the African side, other maybe a continent, it's also the same thing, but entrepreneurship and leapfrog and a lot of potential in African industry field. So quickly to approach and share the knowledge from Japan and collaborate with and to develop a market is very important things. So not only the mechanical industry, but also software development is very important, I thought. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nolo. It's very exciting, and also I feel like I don't have any gifted talent for these software, but I think in a software is for not only software, you have to be utilized for the purpose of solving concrete problem or part of that maybe industries, etc. So I got the second point that how you can utilize this technology for the purpose, for the benefit of the society. Those mindset and also willingness is very important. So thank you very much for sharing your thought. Okay, so sorry for keep waiting, that Professor Baha. So let's turn to the African perspective. So Professor Baha, you are really familiar with Japanese style human resource development through your education, AOTS program, and your research, whatever. And do you think this maybe Japanese experience would be useful for the match with African current needs? And also your perspective, what kind of maybe human resource would be needed currently for Africa?
First of all, greetings from Cairo to everyone here, and I'm very pleased to be sharing with you in this important, very important sessions. All the previous talks are very much encouraging, and we are getting enthusiastic for looking forward to get much more and more cooperation with Japanese companies and through the AOTS schemes and programs. From my opinion, I think we have heard a lot very enthusiastic speeches from experts and from specialists, and they are encouraging us to go through these collaborations faster and faster. But let me just share with you our needs, the needs from African point of view, from the African alumni strategy point of view. Let me share now. Just a moment. Okay, I'm sorry, Azul. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, good. I'm just going to talk about the anticipated role of AOTS for industrial development assistance for Africa. That will be via Japan brand ODA. Japan has been working too much heavily with Asian and East Asian countries, and they got a lot of experience from Japan, and they are got very much successful into implementing Japanese technologies and Japanese managerial system. So why not to Japan to repeat the same way it did with Asian countries?
I see.
And that's through the technical training programs in Japan. It's preferable to be in Japan. Management training programs as well in Japan. Overseas training programs that by sending experts to African countries intensively, and expert dispatch for long-term or short-term or whatever. Industrial academic collaboration program is very interesting, and it will help a lot in this direction. In addition to WNF schemes, that was also useful for both sides. Then, how to promote future business partnership with Africa? I believe it will be very difficult if Japan is going to expand its support and its cooperation with African countries. It shouldn't be remotely done because only via emails or Zoom meetings or whatever. I think it's the time now for Japan to establish a sort of B2B platform. I suggest that if AOTS could establish B2B platform, this will help African within the Africa itself, among the African countries, as within African countries and Japan and the African countries and the whole world. This platform will be very important for both parties, that we can expand the relationship between African companies and Japanese companies as well. I hope that you will consider this idea to establish a platform for B2B between Africa and Japan and, of course, the rest of the world. After that, we propose training courses overseas, and on top of that, Kaizen is one of the most attractive projects to be practically implemented all over African countries. Practical, I say practical, not just lectures. Second, next, digital information like AI, IoT, etc., to be able to go with the recent advanced trends in all over the world. Next, marketing and sales philosophy and practices. To be honest, Africans are not all, or most of Africa are not good at marketing and not good in sales. You can have a lot of examples for that. They cannot market their natural products like minerals or food products and so on, or even tourism. They cannot market it in proper way. So these courses will be very much helpful for African countries. Supply chain and logistics. This is a high time for that. I think everyone feels in the nowadays that the problem facing the whole world in supply chain and logistics, either because of COVID-19 or for the now running the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. So it's becoming to concentrate how to change mind or to make it in supply chain and logistics. Other conventional courses like TQM, Toyota Management, etc., they are very much important to continue on. Executive program for corporate leaderships. This also needed because unless the leaders are convinced with these courses and with the advantage of assistance get from, the owner of the companies and the executives they should be aware of what is going on. So we should concentrate on also leadership programs. There, in addition to special courses for African needs, such as agro-industries, mineral resources, tourism, and hotel management, infrastructure, and water resource problems. Most of African countries are facing a lot of problems with water resources. Coming after that, necessity for establish an AOTS office in Africa. AOTS has some office in some countries, like in India, in Thailand, and other countries. It's time now to have one office to represent AOTS in Africa. For that reason, we have several giant companies in Egypt. They are ready to contribute and to assist in establishing this office. So all the burden will not be only on the shoulder of AOTS. It could be also helped from Egyptian companies as well, and this will help the Japanese side to get more understanding in what the real need for African countries, and also will have better collaborations between AOTS and all African countries. This will ease communications. It cannot be done remotely all the time. It should be also face-to-face together with the representative of AOTS in Africa.
Okay, thank you. I think
that reason, I hope that you could understand what we mean, and we are looking forward for further stronger relationship between Egypt and Japan via AOTS programs. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry
Thank you very much, Professor Baha, for the very extensive and also comprehensive data perspective, and also your message that we have to substantially expand that maybe relationship activities, and also having a basis in Africa. So we really got your message. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
So Mr. Baha, Damas-san, okay, so you have a video on. Okay, sorry for keep you waiting. So because you are the really maybe youngest among us, and then you just came back from Japan and then to Cameroon, you're now serving for your countries. So what do you think about that, maybe after your experience as an initiative student and study and also working experience in Japan, what kind of thing would be useful? And also what do you think that the African human resource development should be much more enhanced? Could you share your perspective?
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. As you said, effectively, I was involved in ABE Initiative program in 2017 and until I graduated in 2019. And I spent 1 more year in Japan, like Japanese language. I studied Japanese language before returning in 2020 in Cameroon, where I occupied back my post as a research officer in the Ministry of Economy. During my training in Japan, besides trade fairs and different company visits, it's short term in AOTS training. I did my internship in a small agricultural company called Sandai Company in Wadayama City, Hyogo Prefecture. Globally, what I realized, the first thing I realized was that although Japanese companies and society and the society is very advanced in terms of technology and domain, I was able to find a lot of similarities between Cameroon environment and Japanese environment, especially in the rural area, because especially regarding the needs of energy, that's the way of sharing energy, agriculture, and energy, agriculture, and even the economic organization. That's why I spent 1 more year there, because I was trying to observe and to see how I could learn, how I could tropicalize, how I could tropicalize what I learned in Japan and bring back in Cameroon. So globally, when in Japan, the main problem is how are we going to tropicalize what we have learned here in Japan, and in order to be able to use it in Africa. Another huge problem is the lack. We think that Japanese companies are not very present in Africa, because when I returned, I wanted to identify the Japanese companies in Cameroon, for instance, and to be able to talk with them and exchange and see how to work with them in order to improve their presence here, because we think that it is very important. From after spending 3 years in Japan, we think that it is important. It is very important for Africa as a whole and Cameroon specifically to come more closer with Japan, because with Japan we are going to learn. We will effectively, there will be the way the communication, the way Japanese transmit that knowledge is unique, is special. It is a whole. It goes with culture. We need to understand Japanese culture, Japanese mindset, Japanese that's the mindset, the culture, and their goals in order to be able to manage them. So when we so still after all that, we can still feel a huge gap. We can still feel a huge gap between Africa and Japan, because Japanese companies are not very present in Africa's society. I compare it with the other developed countries. So it is really difficult to develop ties. We tried in order anyway to bring Japanese FDIs in Africa, because I say that because that will be what it is true that learning that Japanese and African society is going to come closer and understand themselves better, and then it will be easy to understand the demand for quality human, how to undergo, how to manage the human resources and how to say that, how to manage the human and understand the demand in terms of human resources. On every domain, there is there's a huge demand in terms of human resources. And before I wrap up, the short training I had with AOTS during, it was for just 2 weeks, and it was full. It was really intense, and we think that such trainings should be done with private sectors organizers. Private sectors, that's probably the private sector in Africa, but it should be more contextualized, because it is everything happened there in Japan, and we come back and consume what we're doing every day in our everyday life. So it is difficult it is really difficult to tropicalize what was learned there in Japan in African country. Okay. That is one thing that should take in consideration.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your perspective. But I think there are a lot of similarities, and you think that there are possibilities with an increased presence of Japanese maybe people or companies. There are more opportunity to do things together. So thank you so much for your contribution. Sorry for keep you waiting, Dr. Yasunaga. So I need to get your perspective, because you have a rich experience in both Japanese and also international organization, and also in the area of industrial policy in development cooperation. So could you share your perspective?
Thank you very much, Professor Ono, for kind introduction. Yes, it's my pleasure to be here with all of you. I believe that Africa is the place where many new types of businesses with new technologies to change the world will be born. In that sense, we must facilitate the encounter of new technologies and new business models in Africa, with Africa, and for Africa. However, it cannot be happening if we are taking laissez-faire policy. The most important resource is the talents who can combine different elements very flexibly in an agile manner. For example, connection among science, technology, and business. And for example, a connection between ICT and the many kinds of real technologies like agro-processing, manufacturing, environment protection, water management, and so on. We need combinations and connections everywhere. We already know that there are a number of excellent entrepreneurs in Africa, and there are also a number of private companies and engineers with the variety of technologies in Japan. I believe that the most characteristic aspect of Japanese style human resource development is to enable flexible combination of different elements. For example, I will take only one example. Please remember that the Japanese factory is almost like a jewel box for me, not only for me, but also for many of us. To be comprised from scientific knowledge from academicism, engineers' deliberate design, and workers' day-to-day field-oriented and practical creativity, what we call them Kaizen. So that I think Japan, Africa, and international organizations have to collaboratively facilitate the human resource development system for combining and connecting among the very talented people for African industrialization. The connection and the combination is the keyword, are the keyword. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yasunaga. That is really wonderful, and also this fit the discussion I think we just had, because, for example, Professor Baha talked about how important it is. We are very grateful that your observation of the importance of Japanese traditional way of doing that, Kaizen, it has been expanded much more. At the same time, you talked about the importance of the future digital leadership issues. And then combination, I think Mr. Watanuki talked about farmers have to know agricultural technology, but have to also know business management, financial aspect, marketing issues. And then Mr. Noro also talked about how important it is for really by using IT for the talented people to solve various problems from different parts of the world. So I think what you said was really excellent. And also Mr. Miyatake talked about how important it is for the monozukuri culture, which is available or replicable in India or Dubai, whatever. At the same time, localized knowledge is important to make their service workable for African maybe needs. So I think those are combination and also connection, flexibility is really great. And this kind of mentality mindset working together would be very useful. Thank you so much. Then let's go to the second round. I have to ask you to be very maybe short, like maybe 2 minutes for each of you. But let me ask that the question based on what we discussed right now, kinds of human resource we want in Africa. What kind of strategies and measures and actions should be taken? And also what kind of maybe contribution Japan can make? So let's start from Mr. Watanuki. Yeah.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. I mentioned earlier that assistance to improve productivity in agriculture for a long time. So I stated that instead of focusing on that, we should focus on improving the way to sell, the way they sell. In Japan, selling agricultural products was mainly done through JA, an agricultural cooperative, which sells to the wholesale market. However, in recent years, farmers have been selling directly to supermarkets and restaurants or renting space at farmers markets called roadside stations, in Japanese, Chinoeki, and selling the products themselves. In addition, e-commerce sales using by applications are increasingly being used, especially by young farmers. The experience and knowledge of these young farmers is very beneficial for the development of Africa's agricultural human resources. It would be better if this kind of knowledge and experience is shared directly from Japanese farmers to Beninese farmers rather than through a third party. the exchange between Japanese and Benin farmers is also beneficial for Japanese farmers as well. Japanese farmers who want to expand, who want to start business in Africa in the future, or Japanese farmers who want African farmers to work in Japan as well. Furthermore, the exchange of human resources of the younger generation should also be actively carried out. I'm currently working on a project which I'd like to introduce here to you.
Yeah, very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one friend. He's from Benin, and he learns business technical school, and he has set up recently. He has set up an agricultural technical school in Benin, and he wants to adopt more cutting edge agricultural technology like ICT, and he's trying to establish a partnership with a Japanese agricultural college and my support. If this project comes to be realized, it will be possible for students from Benin to study in Japan and for Japanese students to study in Benin as well. So, I wrap up. I strongly believe that it is important to have a system that allows mutual growth rather than one-way assistance. Nowadays, not only private companies, but also entrepreneurs like Mr. Noro, like me, moving into Africa to start business from Japan. So there are many ideas and opportunities for this kind of exchange of human resources throughout Africa. So I hope that there will be more public schemes that can be utilized more easily and quickly. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you very much. So your suggestion is to expand or support a system for knowledge sharing, experience sharing, directly communicating each other. So that kind of system can be much more institutionalized. And then maybe private sector can take an initiative, and then that can be maybe publicly also supported. So those maybe experience sharing programs should be much more systematically that established. So thank you for your the important input. Yeah. So Mr. Miyatake, I think you have been utilizing the AOTS program. Daikin-san has been very much extensively, and then you are introducing this third countries program. Maybe do you think this kind of program should be more expanded? And also any maybe suggestion for the maybe action, much more, additional maybe request or for the policies or measures? Yeah.
はい。先ほど述べましたように、高いレベルで、技術をアフリカの国々に移転するのにはですね、イオンと同等の設備設計、それからサービス、メンテ、技術、これがすでに定着しているヨーロッパや UAE、インドなどの拠点にお招きし、技術を学んでいただくと、まさに AOTS サムと今、一緒にやらせてもらっていること、これが人材育成を加速することだと思っております。本日、実は今まさしくナイジェリアのエンジニアリングの方を、弊社のインド工場にお招きしているところなんです。で、研修後の後で、皆さんがどんな印象を受けてですね、もっとこうしてほしいとかいう意見を聞いて、アフリカの皆さんのニーズとか優先順位に沿った研修をどんどんブラッシュアップしていきたいなと思っています。そして、このような研修はですね、実は私たち日本の製造業が日本の技術を伝えるだけではなく、アフリカの若いエンジニアの方々からですね、これからの空調というのはどういうものであるかとか、必要であるニーズ、それからビジネスモデル、こういうものをですね、リープフロックと言われる早い変化の場所でいらっしゃる皆さんから学ぶという、我々にとっても大きなメリットがあるんですね。これが日本の製造業がこれからアフリカに進出したいと考えている日本企業にとって非常に重要なことだというふうに思っております。
どうもありがとうございます。Thank you very much for very inspiring that insight, because I think Daikin is also kind of expanding your business in Africa. You try to grasp the actual what kind of needs or product needs or service needs and is needed, and also in the maybe consciousness of climate change, maybe those aspects also have to be taken into consideration. So I think you really welcome that exchange of the people, not only Japanese experts, but also inviting third country expert or third country from Africa, and those kind of maybe the scheme would be appreciated. And so I really got your important message. Thank you so much. And so Mr. Noro, so I think you are front runner.
Well, no.
New era. So maybe you have a great suggestion what have to change from the conventional approach. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, my side, my opinion is just thinking about the strategy, how to, what kind of the strategy to between the Africa and Japan is. The 2 points. The first one is give opportunity for Africa. The second one is upgrade work altitude with Africa. The first one, give opportunity for Africa, is meaning is the, as I said, in IT industry, it's needed talented, gifted people. It's statistically, it's sure to find out the certain number of the African youth from opportunity, to give the opportunities, such kind of the hackathon and the coding contest like that. So especially, our company is currently the company of to promote the Meti-Aots coding contest in whole of the Africa and Latin America. So that contest is, I strongly hope to cooperate with Baha-san and Damas-san, because all the university students, it's possible to apply. That's the coding contest in September. So that is, by the way, and it's easily to provide the opportunity by a software development company. Maybe almost all the Japanese software development company, it's not noticed about the talented youth in Africa is. So that's just challenge, and the coding contest was such a, how can I say, please develop like this. Just, it's okay. The second, upgrade the working altitude is very shortly I'm speaking about this. Not only the Kaizen and 5S, the Japan as number one, that the greatest record is, maybe it's related in the software development. Such kind of the word, Kanban. Kanban is Ono Taichi, Mr. Ono Taichi, it's create in the manufacturing. But other side, the software development altitude and method exist, the Kanban. So like that, working altitude, it's needed strongly. Not only the programming, but also the working altitude. That is maybe we should upgrade and contribute to, it's possible. And working with, its meaning is, with Africa, its meaning is to, we should change. English speaking and English conversation in working, it's needed. If we can do it, maybe our Japanese government and economic growth is maybe more increased, I thought. Just, that's it. Sorry,
thank you.
Long.
Yeah. Noro-san is sitting next to me and they got a heat, a lot of passion. So I understand that the second part is that some working attitude like a Kaizen or passion, or that is also needed in maybe you developing digital things, right? That these kind of maybe mentalities and also working together and thinking together is important. At the same time, I think you mean it is very important to really dive into the Africa for that a lot of talents and that the possibilities are there. So find out new opportunities and then try to link with what you have. So thank you so much for your very active that suggestion. So can we ask Professor Damo, the Baha, because you know a lot about that what Japan is doing, and also you talked about Japan has to expand more fundamentally those cooperation, but what kind of strategy and action is needed? Yeah. Could you make a big mic on? Yeah, and then
thank you very
3
much.
minutes. Sorry, 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, I know. Before I talk, I would like to ask Noro-san if would it be possible to make a software for B2B between AOTS in Japan and other whole alumni societies, particularly for African countries. This will help exchanging of business and technology and all these things. This would be very important. I hope that AOTS can negotiate with you to just design this program. Would you? Okay.
I hope so. I hope so. I tried it.
It's very important, by the way. That's one side. The other side, I would like also to emphasize the natural resources in Africa. They have a lot of minerals. They have very good and unique agricultural products. Again, agriculture, we have here someone who is specialized in agriculture, and also tourism. Those three areas are very, very important to strengthen them in African countries. And for both, it will be for mutual benefit between Japanese companies and African interest companies as well. Those are very, very much important issues we have to consider. How to encourage Africa to be able to export these sort of products with added value, not just raw materials, with added value to the whole world. This will come through educational, through Kaizen, through management courses, and so on. So it would. So I mean that Japanese courses or AOTS courses should be focused on this sort of highly valuable products which are being now exported as raw materials, as raw. Again, tourism also, they need to promote tourism either from Europe, from Japan, from everywhere in the world to African countries. This will bring them good opportunities for making money and so on. And tourism as well is industry. It's just people to move from place to place. It is industry. It has supply chain series to improve the tourism in African countries as well. Agro-industry is very, very important. So we have to concentrate on these things as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Bah. So your message
very
is
short,
that,
yes?
Yes, thank you. So your message is not only like a traditional manufacturing, maybe the tourism or mining sector, there are lots of potential for that higher value added. Those maybe methodology for the human resource development that Japan has fostered should be also applied. So now also with the digital technology, it's a basis for working and activity are much more expanding. So we have to think broadly. So thank you so much for your very important insight. Then, Damas-san, yeah. So your turn. So you talk about the importance of much more mutual communication, and then maybe expanding maybe the presence of maybe Japanese companies. But how can we do it? What is the suggestion? Yeah. How, for example, you are familiar with, maybe you have a network among African people with Japan. So how can you contribute?
One first sentence that will be a resume of what I'm going to say is just Japanese FDIs should just dive into Africa. Just dive into Africa. There were already a lot of European countries, European FDIs are around, and even Asian countries FDIs are around. But we believe that the FDI from Japan is different because it comes with there's something I'm still trying to get it, but it is different because it is more relevant in. I really prefer Japanese FDI. So, but there is something that in order for Japan to improve industrial human resources in Africa, is in order for them to contribute to that improvement is we need to develop more trade and business between Japan and African countries. This is the key. We should not wait. Japanese FDIs, already ODA is around, but FDI should not wait for the best moment. Don't wait for the best moment. This is the best moment. That's why I really congratulate Noro-san because he's already there, and he knows best that Japanese companies are not very present in African countries. He must be like them in that country. They can count them at the hand of the fingers. So they are not really present. So we don't do business together, because it is in doing business, it is in talking, it is in communicating that we come to share knowledge. That's the way, that's the best. And then we understand the needs for training. And that's when AOTS, structures like AOTS should not be very far. They should not be in Japan, as Professor Bahal said. They should come also, they should install them, they should be present in Africa, so that when we feel the need for training, because we've been talking, we've been collaborating with Japanese companies and businesses, then we feel the need to train, then we go and train. That's AOTS is around. It is really difficult for us to ask our companies here to do business with Japanese companies, because there is a lot of, apart of the distance, in the head, the distance is in the head. There's also this language barrier. I don't think there is one language center in Cameroon, Japanese language center. No, I don't think. I've been searching, and I cannot. It is so. Those globally, there is that cultural gap, and even the business gap that exists. So this restrains Japanese to contribute in the development of African human resources. We really need it. Yeah. That's why I'm ready myself to dive into code of business. I'm ready to support the business. That's the penetration in Cameroon market and in Central African market as well. I see. If I'm really totally ready, I don't need anything to promote that is present here. It will be a great pleasure for me. Yeah.
Maybe after this session, we can have also action-oriented discussion to make things happen.
I think.
Yes. Yeah, but I think your point is very important. But at the same time, I think a role like you is very important, because that if more young people come to Japan and study in Japan and go back to their countries, and then you think like that, so that there will be a possibility that people like you can connect that African people or Japanese business people. So I think we have to go maybe also step by step, and if that the kind of the layer of the people who knows Japan and Africa increase, that maybe also help. So maybe last panelist which I want to ask is that Dr. Yasunaga. I think that this is a very, very challenging question, but because so many things we have to do to expand relationship between Japan and Africa, and there are so many diverse possibilities there. So how can we make it happen? A policy maker. So how can you do you recommend? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Ono. Yes, I believe that three factors are critical for Africa's industrialization. First one, theoretical background. Second one, implementing skills to fully utilize technologies into the practical field. And third one, policy framework for enhancing the interlinkage among the different stakeholders. First one, for theoretical background, we need more collaboration between African and Japanese universities and public research organizations, not only in education area, but also in research and development area, to create value chain of knowledge. Secondary pillar, for skills to fully utilize technology, I have a big expectation on AOTS network. However, we know Africa is very big, so that there may be sporadic implementation of skill training programs would not be so efficient, nor so effective, regrettably. Rather, I'd like to propose the African countries to establish counterparts to AOTS by cooperation from government and the official training organizations, industrial associations, and the Chamber of Commerce, and so on, and of course from academia. If such counterparts are successfully organized, they can customize the Japanese way of the human resource development program to their own styles, and even disseminate those activities using their networks, their own networks. I am firmly convinced that this will enhance the cooperative relationship with Japan, and also will be greatly contributing to attract Japanese investors diving into Africa, more diving into Africa. The third one, for policy framework, I would like to point out that the critical importance of building wide and thick accumulation of SMEs, small and medium enterprises, in every African countries. Please remember that after World War II, Japanese government has created a wide range of policy framework to nurture, encourage, and support SMEs, namely in the fields of finance, tax incentives, human resource development, support for R&D and marketing strategies, and so on. I believe that SME policy-related cooperation between Africa and Japan will be truly effective. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We would have to keep talking this, and also how we can dive into Africa, and also because our Tanuki-san is already dived into, so that I think young people are the really the engine of our future partnership with Africa. But I think I have to wrap up because at the time is already coming to the end. So let me say that a few words. I really got a lot of inspirations and also great opportunities. I hope we can keep working together, even among us. Yeah. And it seems that all the panelists agreed that Japan should significantly expand its cooperation for African human resource development in terms of the scale, including conventional training in Japan and Africa, including engagement of particularly third country experts, and also training in third country, which I think Miyatake-san has been doing, and also Noro-san is also doing in a new way. And also Professor Baha talked about the importance of those things. So we have to do it. At the same time, new approaches or changes are also needed. As Mr. Noro said, that the Japanese people should also learn from Africa, and Watanuki-san also said we should have a mutual learning scheme is needed, where Japan may not be always a teacher. And then, and also I think in the digital world, maybe by utilizing AT, creating maybe social business for solving local problem requires a learning about individual country much in deeply. So I think mutual learning is indispensable. So maybe more learning, more training in Africa by sending Japanese experts or maybe from Africa in different parts of Africa working together would be very much needed. And also interactive training method would be very, very useful for co-creation. And also I got the message AOTS must adapt its approach to the African way. So it used to work with maybe company by company basis because it's naturally demand driven. That is the Asian way we did the technology transfer. But as Dr. Yasunaga said, for scaling up, it is important work with more systematically with African maybe organization, local organization, industrial organization, which have a broad basis, broad network with much more African private sector. So that should synergize all the activities. More, I understand AOTS has been very much useful and important contribution, but not just AOTS. More comprehensive approach is needed, including research, practice, and policy. So building such multidimensional partnership between Africa and Japan is needed. That requires maybe not only AOTS working alone, collaboration with the government, in both party, international organization, such as including UNIDO, that would be very much important. So we have to work holistically in different level, theory, research, practice, and then the policy level. Okay. So this is what I got. So, but maybe before closing, wrapping up, let me just also say one word. Yeah, because I want to emphasize one thing. This is my personal view. I think Japan should definitely contribute to human resource development of Africa to produce the virtuous cycle, circulation between Africa and Japan. I think it's already taking place, like that Watanuki-san or that Noro-san or what Miyatake-san has been doing, and also the Damas-san and the Bahas-san are a great example for that. So I think Japan has been making important contribution to respective countries while keeping good ties with Japan. So Daikin is helping African engineers to serve for their local people, customers, and Daikin Code is training African professionals which can contribute to solving problems by using IT for Africa and also beyond Africa and also for Japan. So I think this kinds of chain of collaboration working together, chain of maybe brain circulation is very important, not brain drain. So I think this is a very important part of I think Japan should be doing and also what Japan used to do in Asia, but this have to be maybe upgraded in the African context. So I would like to say that the brain circulation methodologies in working together would be very useful. Thank you very much for all the panelists. I think we don't want to say goodbye, but I think we really thank you so much for the excellent input. And then we keep working to make what we discuss into practice. So thank you very much. So let me turn my microphone.
Excuse me, can we share each other emails address just so we can communicate together and for further
Mahan-san is a alumni association, and so he can be a good connector to the various network too. Okay, with pleasure. Thank you.
大野先生、パネリストの皆様、非常に熱のこもった議論をありがとうございました。皆様には予定の時間を少し超過してのお届けにて恐れ入りますが、本イベント関係者を代表いたしまして、AOTS アフリカ同窓会連合会長、アディル・アリ・モハメド・アハメド様より皆様に閉会のご挨拶をいただきます。それではアディル・アリ様、よろしくお願いいたします。
Good morning and good afternoon and good evening for some people. Let me begin by expressing my thanks and appreciation to all distinguished speakers in this Meti-Aots TCAT 8 side event, namely Professor Ono, Mr. Miyatake, Mr. Noro, Mr. Watanuki, and Professor Baha, and Mr. Damas, and Mr. Yasunaga. The good idea of organizing an event under the theme, how Japan can contribute to industrial human resource development in Africa, is most needed. Thanks to AOTS President, Mr. Kuwayama, AOTS staff also, and Mr. Tokiwa, Deputy Director General of Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry meeting. While AOTS was established in 1959, African Federation of AOTS Alumni Societies, known as AFAS, was established in the second convention of AOTS Alumni Societies held in Yokohama Kenshu Center on 23rd of April 1989. Currently, AFAS consists of 10 countries, namely Cameroon, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Sudan, Tanzania, Zambia, and South Africa. Previously and up to date, AFAS has benefited a lot from AOTS human resource development programs. These programs are categorized as AOTS subsidized programs or as World Network of Friendship programs. Both schemes were of great contribution to human resource development and Japan-Africa friendly relationship. Many technical and managerial training programs were conducted every year. Terms such as 5S, Kaizen, TBS, Gemba, Joika, JIT, Monozukuru, Muda are becoming known in this part of the world. Today's panel is setting an upgraded strategy for the future collaboration between Japan and Africa in industrial human resource development. We would like to see a regional office of AOTS in Africa, similar to those in Asia. Comparing this vast distance makes it more feasible and justified to establish a regional office in Africa. Collaboration in both ends, vocational institute and higher research institute, is deemed highly necessary. I conclude my speech by a quote from President Nelson Mandela. He said, "Cooperation is through conviction that nobody can get there unless everybody gets there." Thank you.
アリルアリ様、ありがとうございました。それでは以上をもちまして、第8回アフリカ開発会議 TICAD8 公式サイドイベント、アフリカで日本が果たしていく産業人材育成のあり方を終了いたします。本日はお忙しい中ご参加いただき誠にありがとうございました。